Hello, Damsels. Welcome back to another wonderful episode of Damsels After Dark. I'm Crystal.
And I'm Kristen.
And we are here with another fun, exciting episode covering Kristen's favorite books.
My favorite of all time.
This is it's not
Cat
the
Mouse
duology.
Duet.
Oh yeah, it is a duology.
Yeah.
What am I trying to say? This
Cat
is the
Mouse
ending of our Cat and Mouse duet. It's hot.
Yeah.
It's hot up in here. My brain is frying. I've been
We're
sitting here
struggling.
for 10 minutes and I'm already dying. So we're finishing up Hunting of Adeline. And it's by H.G. Carlton, which is probably well known. Everybody knows his fucking books.
Yeah, right about now, yeah. I think it's well popular
Mm-hmm.
with the TikTok community, especially.
Yeah. But if you would like to follow along with our reading and review schedule, you can find it down below linked. And without further ado, let's hop into it. Kristen,
Yes, Crystal.
we look so professional.
We do. We have our pretty beautiful mics, our matching mics.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful.
And hopefully the sound is just crispy clean.
I think my mic is more in view than yours. Maybe not.
Well, we
I
are
don't know.
off of a different. We
Yeah.
got a whole setup over here. We should take a behind the scenes photo of our just obnoxious
Yes,
setup.
that's pretty crazy, guys.
People, real professionals, you're gonna be like, what the fuck are these two doing? We're just haphazardly throwing shit together. We're like, we need this, but this isn't connecting, so we'll just do this instead.
Listen, we just really wanted to talk about books.
Yeah, we're not tech professionals, okay? We're
No.
not recording professionals. We're professional readers
Yeah.
and ranters.
Everything comes after. It's secondary to us reading a book.
Yeah, and we had tech professionals within reach, and they're no longer quite as readily available, so we've made do with what we have, but also it's fucking hot.
Yes, and we both really, really hate the heat. I mean, I don't know. Anything over, like, I would say 70, we're just, like, having a hard time.
Yes, and the studio is just always extra hot.
Like 10 degrees hotter than it is outside.
Yes, and I'm old enough to just not give a shit anymore, but I'm a sweaty person. Like, I just sweat. I sweat like I'm 5,000 pounds. And so if you see me shiny, just hush about it. It's hot, okay? It's hot. I can't, we can't have an AC in here, even though we have mics, but I don't know what else to do. I'm just going to sit here and be shiny.
The thing is, too, is, like, I'm not a sweaty person. It'll take a lot for me to sweat, but, like, just the idea of thinking the sun is out immediately makes me sweat. Not just because it's hot, because I get anxiety thinking about how hot it is. Then I start sweating for future.
Kristen's just making herself sweat just by thinking about it.
And I can run 2 miles and I'll barely break out a sweat. But if it's 90 degrees out, if I'm looking at the weather and it's like it's 90 degrees in 5 hours, I'm like, okay, I'm sweating thinking about it.
That's wild.
Yeah, I can't. I have a hard time.
I wish that was my problem, because that's a fixable problem. You could calm yourself down. I walk too fast up a slight hill, and I am just drenched. In high school, I used to be so embarrassed because my face gets really red too when I'm working out. So if I ever went hard in a PE class, I was dying. Like, my face was beet red. I was sweating. I'm like, I'm sorry. I inherited all of my father's genes to do this. My mother is like Asian perfection and doesn't sweat, her face never gets red, but my dad is just white. And so I have all of that nonsense. But
That's funny.
anyway, so yeah, we're sweaty, we're here. We're going to get fans one day that say Damsels After Dark. We just bust them out.
Well, then that the poor Mike will be hearing whoosh, 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 whoosh the whole time.
Little bit of ASMR. But I do know I'm already getting fuzzies from this mic in my lip gloss. But I was going to say the whole rest of the country is on fire right now, I heard. So I think that we're in good company.
Oh, okay.
That everybody's probably sweating. You're probably watching us sweating. So we're kindred spirits right now.
But at least we're not on fire over here. We're just feeling like we are.
Yes. I feel bad for you, though, because you are by the window.
I
that's
am right by the window.
That's where the non-sweaty people sit.
half of my side of my face is just like burning. But it's okay. It's okay. We'll get through this.
But it's making you glow, so it
does.
fine.
Like, just on one side of my face is just ultimate glow. The glow power. But it's okay. We'll get through it. I just need food, water, and pop.
She's got pop, fries, and water, actually. I think that you have all of your necessities over there.
I just need pizza, but like I wasn't going to put the oven on
my God.
this time. Not like last time.
No.
Or the time before.
Wait, though, it'll be 90 degrees. And she's like, let's do pizza. Anyways, we're getting way off track. I think
Yeah.
we're stalling is what we're doing.
Yeah.
If we're being honest here, we're stalling. So we're in the second installment of this fucking cat and mouse duology that I dragged us to, so I can't even be mad. Who am I mad at? Mad at me.
Well, you know, it's funny because, like, as I was reading, like, all of these, I was like, I can't wait till Crystal reads her pick. I'm excited for her to read what she's been wanting to read.
I can't wait till she fucking reaps what she sows.
Yeah. She's like,
oh, I did all week. You heard me bitching about it all fucking week.
I did. And I kept it to myself when I was reading it, except, like, for the last book, I couldn't take it anymore. That's when I was like, Crystal, I think, was in Satan's Affair when I was in the last book. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't care. I have to talk about, because we could just say it right now. Like, I absolutely hated this book.
Same.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll talk about, no spoilers, our first few minutes, but, like, I just have to get it out there.
Yeah, this is a rant for sure.
Yeah, absolutely hate it. And it has nothing to do with it being dark romance. It has everything to do with just the story in itself.
Yeah, I would say the story, because at this point you're already past the worst of it as far as, like, their relationship and like their character situation. You're past that. And so now all that's left right now to hold this book up is the storyline. And, well,
it wasn't doing.
That didn't hold up the first book. So, well, here we are with this one. So we left off the last book with Addie being captured. And so you start this book, she's captured. You're pretty much just with her being captured for a while. She gets rescued. And then the second half of this book is just like her revenge arc.
Yeah. And, you know, without even getting into any more spoilers, you obviously know Zayd is going after, trying to find her with a vengeance. And you know her kidnapping has everything to do with the sex trafficking. Yeah, the sex trafficking world. So just be prepared for that. It's pretty, you know, all the triggers you could possibly think of is part of this book, you know, so I don't want to have to dive into all the triggers. Obviously, read the triggers before you read this book, so. And
this time, it's not laced with possible maybe blurred line romance. Like, the triggers on this one are really hard and fast for, like, the first 250 pages of this book are, like...
Yeah, if you're looking for her to get rescued right off the bat, and it says it right in the beginning, so this isn't even a spoiler. It says right in the beginning, right in the trigger warnings. If you're looking for her, Addie, to be rescued within a very short period of time, you're not. It's halfway through the book. I think it's part 1 and part 2, maybe 3 parts actually. I think this book is divided into 3 parts. Part 2 is where you're going to feel your relief of, so to speak, Addie's rescue. So just so you know, I mean, I'm not trying to give out too many spoilers, but like the anxiety will build up if you're really wanting to like make sure she's fine and rescued. So it's you're looking in for a long haul of all the crazy, wild, nasty, disgusting stuff in the first half of that book that you're not. It's not going to be romance that first half, to be honest.
It's just is what it is. It's the sex trafficking world and all that sort of entails, and now she's in it. Yeah. As a I don't want to say participant because that's not it, but as a capturee. Yeah,
so now she's not hearing about it through Zayd's world. She's actually experiencing it firsthand, and it's bad. It's descriptive. So just be aware of that.
And as with most duologies or even follow-up books to the main book, there's not a whole lot that we can give in summary other than literally that's what it is, because the rest is just spoilers.
I'd like to add though that Sibby is a part of this book. So you'll find out what happened to Sibby from Satan's Affair in this book at the end of Satan's Affair. It ties in at the very end of that book into this book. But you won't see Sibby for a while. You're like maybe halfway, maybe part 3 into the book. I can't remember.
Yeah, I would say so.
But so Sibby is in the book, and I just like to add that. That's probably the best part for me. So, I mean, we'll talk about more in a little bit.
Well, we could probably go into our ratings, but we'll talk more about the spoilers. Yeah. But, so Kristen, the ultimate rating?
I gave it a 1. I could not, like I said before, I've said it a million times. I generally only read fantasy books besides sci-fi occasionally, but like this had, even on its own, even if it was just, I couldn't get into it at all. I had so much anxiety from the first half because of the sex trafficking world. I don't like to read about that stuff at all. And I just don't want to have to like experience the emotions that come with it reading a book. I want to read a book to escape it. Even the fantasy world, you know, people are getting killed and murdered and stuff like that, but it's like it hits different when it's this kind of a book. And the story just doesn't hold up.
Yes.
The story doesn't hold up. Things are just so outlandish, even if it's supposed to be like in a real world setting type feel.
Yes.
It's like midway between trying to be realistic and then just absurd. And I'm not even talking about all the crazy, nasty, disgusting things that happen. I'm talking about just the story in itself. It's like this is a wild, crazy, absurd ride.
Yeah. There's nothing here that's really rooted in reality. And when it is rooted in reality, it's way overblown.
Yeah.
Like to the point where it's just way unrealistic. Yeah. And there's no backbone of like, this isn't reality to land on, that it's unrealistic. It's like, well, this is trying to be reality, so it is supposed to be rooted in some form of reality. Yeah. It's not, like, and it's horrible.
And then you got like these weird coincidences from her first book into the second book. And what happened to the ghosts? Like, what, are we not continuing any plot from the first book? Like, it just like became a whole new book story type thing. And it's like, I don't know, character progression was kind of weird even.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to feel about it other than it's like, I don't want to read this ever again. It was a one. I hated it. And it's not even because it's dark romance.
No, I don't think that has much to do. It's just a bad book.
I think it's horribly written. And I wasn't into Zaid at all in this book whatsoever. Like anything that I was thinking that, his hotness didn't even do it for me in this book. Like I was done with it.
Yeah, I can see that. So I also gave it a 1. And I will say some of the things that I liked about it first, so that I don't just get labeled as a hater of this book, because there were some things that I did like, and they mostly revolved around Zaid, even though towards the end I'm just like so disillusioned and disenchanted by him. I just don't even give a shit anymore.
Same.
But so I did like him, and I liked his POV. I think he's really funny. That's why I like him. His like callousness towards murder, his humor towards it while he's doing it, I'm really into. Like, it makes me laugh. He's trying to kill one dude, and he's like talking about the way that he runs while he's like pointing his gun at him. Like, those types of things I really enjoyed. So I like Zaid as a character. I liked him. Like, obviously Addie gets taken, and then there's like things that transpire afterwards when she gets saved, and obviously she's going through PTSD. So him like working her through that, I enjoyed those types of things. But sort of to like reiterate what Kristen is saying, it's just like the story itself is bad. The Batman aspect is so fucking cheesy. Yes. He's like, he faces no obstacles and no barriers. He's got men for this. He's got cameras for this. He's got sniper drones for that. It's just obnoxious.
Yeah.
And I don't think this is too much of a spoiler, but the price that they put on her head is even obnoxious. It was like $12 million. I'm like...
And I'm still not understanding, because they're trying to say it's to go after Zaid, but it's like... No, it kind of really wasn't. It kind of really wasn't, because then why not just put the price on Zaid's head?
Yes. And that's a fair price for him.
Yeah.
Because he's like a badass mastermind, but that's an obnoxious amount of money. And I understand that we're dealing with like the top elite of society, but still, to me, these things come off way unrealistic. And again, you're trying to root this book in reality, in modern day times, in real world, and it's not working for me. So it's just way too cheesy. And he's way too like... well-equipped for every situation. Yeah, and we talked about it before too, about like he has no real training.
No, he has no
Where
real
does
training.
all this come from?
Yeah.
I'll give into the fact that you're a badass, because like you show me you're a badass, but also I just like, I don't, it's again not rooted in anything that's like solid and real. So
no. And it, like, even if we want to fit into this world particularly, like there is no backing to have where it works for the story. Like there's no talk about his training. There's no talk about, Addie like working through a lot of stuff that she goes through, even though she does, but it doesn't really like dive into how she's able to cope with a lot of the things that she's doing. It's just she just gets really like volatile, which I understand, but also like their strange relationship that happens at one point. It's like, I was telling how Zaid is like a Batman. He ends up becoming like a Joker.
Yeah.
And she becomes like a Harley. And it's like that whole story. It's like, where am I reading a DC comic? Like, what is going on? It no longer became a reality type of book to me, like a real world, dark romance book. It became more of, I was reading DC comics of Harley Quinn and Joker with a little mixture of an extreme Harley. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like,
and I also agree too that the coincidences were obnoxious. Yeah. And there were coincidences that didn't need to be there. Yeah. Like, you find out somebody for Sibby that's like, this is an unnecessary coincidence. This didn't need to exist in the story.
I guess like they would call it found family.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
What is this?
Why?
Like randomly found family twice, by the way.
Yeah. Twice, and you don't need it. And then also, the rehashing of the same scenario of like finding letters, whatever,
and the
like
floorboards,
and the floorboard,
yeah.
like. We already did this already. And then there's another scene with another weapon, and I'm like, why am I just reliving the first book again?
Except this is like consensual this time.
Yeah, I didn't like it. And I also, towards the end, and I'll agree full-heartedly, I was done. I was done with the sex. I was done with the God complex. And I was digging it in the first book. So don't I'm not a hater on it. I was loving it. I was like, ooh, yeah. Ooh. Yeah. But then you want to know something funny? And this will be a little sneak peek for our next episode, too. I read our next book in between this, and my savior ascended from the depths of hell to remind me who I actually pray to and why I do that, and it was not Zayd. And then I go back and read the rest of this book, and I was like, there's a reason my number one is my number one, and I'm like, go away, Zayd. And so after rereading what we're going to read, and then going back into this world and listening to him talk his game, I was like,
See?
Go sit in the corner. Go sit in the corner, Zayd.
That was what I was trying to say, like, because we were talking about it last episode, and like even off camera, we would talk about it, and I was like, I get it. Zayd is supposed to be like the badass of this world, but like I have a hard time reaching that, like being okay with it when I'm reading about all these other MMCs and all these other books with their real actual badasses with actual power who are gods. And so it's like I'm not falling for it.
And the thing is, those guys, and my number one, never has once uttered those words.
No.
He just lets the situations and himself speak for himself.
Exactly.
But Zayd is like over and over telling you, pray to the God. I'm like, well, stop. Boy, stop.
He needs to be told because he's not really.
He should reiterate it over and over to remind you that instead of just letting it be, letting you decide. That's who he is. And that, I must have been deprived. And now I must go back to my number one every now and again to gauge my feelings for the new people that I'm with. I'm like, wait a minute.
I'm so glad that you, like, it hit for you at this point, because like that's when I was feeling it too. It was like the second half of that book, I was like, I'm not feeling this at all. His God complex is too ridiculous. And, I want to like kind of say this because it's not really a spoiler, but I read a Goodreads review that had me cracking up because it was so fitting. She goes, let me see if I can remember this. Zayd's God complex is bigger than his and that was hard to do because like even in the book she's always talking about how big it is. It's like, oh my God, give it a rest. I'm so done with it. And like I said, we love this kind of stuff. We love the smut, we love it, but like this was it was so overdone, overplayed, constantly the same stuff. I was getting bored with it, and I don't know. I wasn't feeling that heat.
No, I was rolling my eyes every time he fucking opened his mouth. And it's funny because I had to listen to this on audiobook because I just didn't have time. And I'm just rolling my eyes. I'm hearing this shit. I'm like cleaning. I'm like, oh my God, not this shit again. And the amount of scenes that she smashed into the last like 80% of this fucking book was obnoxious. Like I don't care anymore. If I was reading this on my Kindle, which I wish I would have been, I would have just been like, it's pages. It's got to be pages. Like 20 minutes long, each of these fucking scenes. And I was bitching to Kristen all fucking week. Like, girl, I've been listening to this book. I'm cooking. I'm cleaning. I'm crocheting. I'm sitting around for hours a day listening to this book. I'm like, how? I was like, Wednesday. I'm like, how do I have 5 hours left? Like, what else? And it's because all of these sex scenes are taking up so much time in this book. And I just don't care. Like, it's overdone. It's overused. I get it. I think once she... because it's going to take her time to get back to where they fully were. And so once they accomplish that, I'm done. I checked out. I was like, ooh, that's good. That's good. I like it. And then we're done. And then also this one gets a little bit more into like the blood play. And I'm just not into that.
Nope.
And I just don't care. And maybe you could do it a little bit sexy, because in our next book there's a scene where it's a little bit sexy with the blood.
I was gonna say I'm into blood play for fantasy because there's a lot of time where they're murdering people, going crazy, killing them, and then they're just like getting hot and heavy, and it's like, and of course a lot of them have fangs and they drink. So I was like, okay, I didn't realize I was into blood play until I was reading fantasy stuff, but this book, No, so don't even say that. Oh, you made me just not into blood play. No. I have read a lot of fantasy books where blood is involved.
But this was it was just weird.
It's kind of like trauma. It's like he's using her trauma as a sexual, and I can't get down with that. I'm sorry, I can't. When you're utilizing your trauma, he's like he was trying to take back her trauma.
I was about to say, I think he was trying to like reclaim those things. So like I didn't have a problem with that. It was a little weird at times, but like.
It was absurd.
I understood that that's sort of their thing, and that's also Addie's thing. So that was the way to get her back. So, but I'm like, it's not for me. Exactly. But I get that that's like her thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the blood, I was just not into it. But then when I read the next book and there was a blood scene, I was like, maybe it's not that I'm not into it. I'm just not into their weird blood play, because that was too much, and it was like really honed in on by the author. Like she kept talking about the blood that was pouring and pooling, and I was like, I don't.
And like my thing is too, it's not even just that. It's like how it was used in the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
So like how the blood play was used in the beginning of the book is not consensual.
Yes.
So then you get to the blood play with him, and the way he talks to her kind of triggers me. So like when I was reading it, and it wasn't like something that happened in my personal life. I'm reading the first book, and then or the first part of the book, and then you get into the second part of the book, and I'm like, the things he says is too far off from her fucking actual like abusers. Mm-hmm. So it's like, how is this any different? It's really not that different from her abuser from Zaid, and I couldn't take that comparison away. So the blood play seemed to, even though it wasn't trying to be abusive, he was doing it consensually and she was allowing it, it still gave me mirror image of her abuser.
Yes.
And so I was having a hard time.
And I was also having a hard time with him keep saying like, I'm the only monster, because we talked about this last book, but I'm like, there's not a monster here other than the fact that he's just he R-worded her. There's no monster here. So he keeps on saying I'm the monster. And for girls who are really into the sort of actual monster villain,
shadow
I'm
daddies,
like, boy, where's your monster? Because I'm not seeing it.
Hey, listen, I just read a story where a guy just turned into a dragon, okay, and he's killing people left and right. Now, that is an actual monster. So this guy, sorry, man, you're not fulfilling up to that word that you are calling yourself this stuff.
Yes.
And no one's visualizing this for you. No. The only people who think you are a monster are the actual shitbags you're killing, and even them, they're the monsters. Yeah. They're the shitbags. So, like, I'm not getting it. I'm not falling for a dude.
I'm not. No, only I'm the monster who can claim you. I'm like, Zaid, blah. Like, I'm over it. They're not doing it for me anymore. Zaid, sorry.
Too bad you're hot, but like, lucky for you, you're hot, but too bad.
But that's all you got going for you, boy.
Like, yeah,
you're just hot. But you know what? There's a dime a dozen of you in
our fictional worlds.
Yes. In our fictional worlds, and there's already somebody who's claimed this monster spot, and so every time you're acting like it, I'm just rolling my eyes at the obnoxiousness of it.
It's pretty obnoxious.
No. But anyway, so that was our lovely rant. Sometimes we rant a little bit more when we hate something, as one does, though.
Yeah. We knew it was going to be kind of a rant. But...
It was, yeah. I mean, one across the board. I just can't.
And so for obvious spice, it's 5, but for us, it's icy.
It's an icy?
I am not into this at all. Even when it was consensual, it fell flat for me. I wasn't feeling it. I was bored. Couldn't wait I was speed reading through this shit like crazy. I just was so sick of it that I just kept reading. Like, anytime I saw that they were about to get hot and heavy, I was just like, oh my god, can I just like... I was like more like just like skimming through it. Mm-hmm. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, towards the end of this, I think I cranked it up to like 1.5 speed because I really needed to get through this book. I finished the book today. Like, that's how much I dragged ass finishing it. For the last 2 days, I didn't listen to it. I was over it. I was so upset that I had to finish it today. But anyways... I will say, though, the audiobook is pretty good. The audiobook is like a good production. It has somebody doing all the female voices, is the same person, and that includes dialogue. So when you're in Zaid's point of view, Addie's dialogue is done from the female, and so is Sibby's, I think.
Oh, good.
And same thing with vice versa. So Zaid's dialogue is in Addie's POV is done by the guy, and they both do a really great job. So as far as audiobooks go, it's a good one.
Yeah, that is good. I like because I can't stand when it's just voiced by one person.
And when the women try to do the male voice, it's like an instant icy.
Yeah, I can't do it.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I haven't really listened to audiobooks, so it's really hard for me. Somebody has to like vet it for me and be like, oh yeah, this is like what you were doing. Like, this is okay, but I don't even want to know if I want to listen to all this crap that I read. So
yeah, it was intense to listen to. Normally, I try not to listen to audiobooks when we're doing a book review, but I knew that this one was not going to be I was not going to care all that much. Yeah. But anyways, so we got through that. Our overall review is not good. Sorry. We didn't like it. Oh, but I did want to point out, and you're going to laugh. You're going to laugh. The Goodreads review for this one got 4.11. And the amount of people who rated this book and got it to 4.11 were 344,000 and a half people. You all gave this book fucking 4.11, but when you look at the actual like written reviews, like the top are just 1 stars. No.
Yeah.
Oh, I found Zayd's God complex is bigger than his dick. That's really hard to achieve. Yeah, there's that one. So
I love that one's my favorite.
I hope Zayd's dick goes limp forever. Like nothing but 1 stars in like the very beginning of the Goodreads. So I'm not even going to give the critiques because all of the critiques are the same critiques that we have. Like, and all of the love is for Zayd, pretty much. You know, I love Zayd. I love this reawakening for Addie. So, you know, whatever, to each their own flavor, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, if you like the book, you like the book. I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum, obviously. These are just our opinions, you know. If somebody were to come to me like, I really love this book, I'd be like, I'm happy for you. I really am, because like I love books, and just because somebody else doesn't like it, it doesn't mean I'm gonna stop liking it. And I actually like hearing other people's critique on books I do like, because I think it's funny.
Yeah, I do
like,
too.
If you want to bash the book I like, I'm gonna laugh at you.
Yeah.
Not laugh at you, but laugh with you, because it's like, it's kind of funny to me. I'm not one of those people who have soft skin, so it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
If you want to bash a book I do like.
I mean, people bashed Ione and Elm and Two Twisted.
I'm just gonna be like, what?
Crowns.
I don't get it.
Yeah, so.
But that's fine. You know, you can do whatever you want. It's your opinion. And books, there's a book for everybody. Not everybody likes the same book, but there's a book for everybody, and that's fantastic.
That's the beauty of it.
Exactly.
So all in all, yeah, this is just not a book for us. Spice level's off the charts. Content level, plot so far below the charts, I can't even see it.
Yeah.
But we can go to now our spoiler section. I don't know that we have a whole lot here because we didn't like the book, so.
No, and it's not anything we haven't already said. We're just going to get a little bit more specific on, like, certain spots. Like.
So best parts.
Yeah.
We can start with that.
You want to go first? It's your pick. Your pick, Crystal.
My pick to defend if I have any best parts in here.
Yeah, defend your book.
I don't want to. I surrender. I don't have any honor in this book. Let's see. I think my best part, aside, like, there's not like a specific part that I came at was like, I fucking love this part. But I'll say overall, I love Zayd's POV. Like, I loved every point of it. I think he's really funny. I said that in the beginning. I said it here. Two, I guess I'll just reiterate it. I like his point of view. I like his love of Addie, and I like how he thinks about it internally. I like his humor, and that's probably the only thing that I liked about this book. So that was my only favorite part. There's not like a scene that I was like, this is the fucking scene. Because they're all a little muddy, because they're all mixed with like weirdness, but like his overall character, I'm like, yeah, okay, it's cool. He's not going to make a book boyfriend list, that's for sure, but he's certainly like had me entertained enough that I was laughing. And then of course I loved Sibby's and those specific scenes where she's talking about like her henchmen and like, she's trying to have sex on tables in front of people, like having orgies, and the fact that this is just like a constant terror threatening Zayd and Addie, that she's just gonna strip herself
and have sex with them.
Yeah. And talk about the knife that somebody put in her, Jackal put in her. Like I loved all of that, and I loved that more so because we read the fucking first book that I didn't like, but like you appreciate her character so much more. She's probably my favorite character. So I like that. And then the scene where they send her to go be the one to go into this office where like she can't fucking touch anything. I don't know why that was an idea to send her there, but it was comical that she was there arguing with her henchmen. But I think that's probably, I'm literally scratching at the barrel here for any. Oh, I will say, okay, there is one part that I did like. In the very beginning, when Addie is being terrorized by that Sybil. Is that her name? No.
Yeah, it's Sydney.
Sydney.
Yeah.
And then she finally grabs that bitch and throws her onto the desk and like fucking just gives her business. Yeah. I was like, finally. Yeah. Thank you, Addie. Finally, get some shit down. And then eventually she kills her, which I was also like, great. Fucking yes.
I was waiting for her. I was so sick of reading about them too. I was so sick. I couldn't wait. So when she did kill her, I was like, fucking thank God. But yeah, what are you going to do now? So that question obviously gets answered right away. But like, yeah, I was so glad I was so glad And that's probably my favorite part is when this book just fucking finally like was done with Addie's bullshit.
Yeah,
like
it feels like a whole other book though. Like I completely forgot about that whole first half of the book because the second half is like a whole other. But it's like a book 3 over here.
It is.
But anyways, so not a whole lot overall things that I enjoyed.
I pretty much like the same things you do. I mean, I don't see. The crazy thing is there's not a whole lot to this book other than the rape and the sex trafficking, and then you get to these parts. So pretty much the parts we're talking about are really the only parts that have anything to do with other than the sex trafficking. Yeah. Like when there's no story, it's just banter. That's pretty much what this is. I don't really like the story. I like the banter between Zaid, Sibby, and Addie. They're hilarious. Like I also enjoyed the fact that Zaid kind of flipped the script on how he was. So right after Addie gets rescued, how Zaid treats Addie is perfectly like just wonderful. Like he's there for her, supportive. He makes sure he doesn't touch her like he does a rapist. That's what's so funny about it. He is a rapist. Ends up being like very calm, sweet, but he still does say things in the beginning when he rescues her. He still kind of like says some stuff, and I'm just like, oh, dude, calm down. Because he'd be like, oh, just wait till you allow me to touch you or whatever. Oh, yeah. I'm going to push you to your limits. It's like, she just got back. Don't say that shit. And then when he would call her a whore, I mean, now I'm getting into the bad parts, but like, to stay on track here, I pretty much just like how he was, other than what he would say occasionally, how he treated her was just really sweet. And very thoughtful of her healing process. And he was there for her. Even though her healing process was getting kind of strange, he was there the whole time to like not let her push her limits too much, but he still kind of was there pushing it just to get her to heal. So I thought that was great of him. Yeah. But then he turns to this person that I don't like later. So that's really it. I don't...
Yeah, again, there's not like a solid scene where it's like, I love this. It was like, no, I like this idea, this element here, not the scene. No. Did you have any hated scenes besides listing the entire book?
Yeah, pretty much. I hated so much. I hated all the first half completely. I couldn't stand it at all. I hated all the coincidences there. You find out Sydney is Sibby's sister, but you don't really know that. You kind of fucking figure it out, though. The whole time I'm reading was this fucking... I was like, did Sibby escape and somehow end up here?
When she was when she was finding something creeping in the walls?
I was like, is Sibby here?
I was like, is this going to be Sibby's introduction? Why is Sibby in the walls here? Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, no, it's Sydney. And like, Sibby, if it was Sibby would have remembered Addie because of her smell. She remembered Addie immediately. So it's like, what the fuck is going on? And Sibby is not the type of person to not kill people. She would have killed everybody in that fucking house. So it was fucking weird. I didn't like it. I didn't like the fucking thing on the floorboard. I hated that, FYI, there's going to be a whole nother book that's attached to this. It's like an add-on. It's like it's a video game. It's an add-on.
It's expansion.
Too many video games. What the fuck is it called? Not a sequel.
A novella?
No, not even a novella. It's like I don't know. It's an addition to this book.
It's hot.
Yeah,
our brains are fried.
Molly or something. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's about this girl named Molly, and it's in the floorboards. It's very similar. She's reading this like as if she read her grandma's diary, except this is like she's trying to like escape.
Yeah, one of the girls that was there that escaped. Yeah. Don't care.
It was just so weird. And then of course Zayd's God complex with all the sex. I was so thoroughly just done with it. So everything we've already said before is pretty much the same thing. It's just it gets a little bit. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It was Zayd's bullshit.
Yeah. He's a complicated character. And not in a really good way. No, he's just kind of...
Look, like, I don't even have any... Maybe I should have quoted, because I don't like quoting these books. But maybe I should have quoted some of the things he said, but it was just, like, I'm your God. Like, and then... Okay, the part where he, like, they go after Xavier outside when they're doing their culling... They have Xavier outside, and then, like, he fucks Xavier up because they lined Xavier, Rocco, and somebody else, if I can't remember. There's, like, 3 of them. It was a girl, Francesca.
Yeah, Francesca.
So, like, they lined all 3 of them as Sibby, Zayd, and Addie, right? Sibby's going to town. She wants to fucking kill Francesca. I think they do. I think they let her go off to Francesca and kill Francesca. You can hear Francesca screaming in the background. But like after they kill Rocco, there was like I think Xavier was the only one left, and like Xavier was like getting attacked by Addie, but then she couldn't finish, so Zayd grabbed Addie and was like fingering her in front of Xavier and like doing this weird shit, and then he goes, did she call out did she call out your name? And he goes, no. Would she say my God? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, well, that's my
me
name.
Yeah.
Oh, Zayd.
It's so cheesy.
It's so ridiculous.
So cheesy.
I was just like, ugh.
I was gonna say that was one of my hated parts. I hated the culling, first of all, because that made no fucking sense. It was so over the top. And I'm like, okay, I'm not like a deep diving into what goes on in grooming households in reality, but everything about this was fucking outrageous.
Yeah, I hated it.
Down to like, again, the culling, the girls fighting, the like, she beat the one girl to death to like save her, or they were like beating, like it was just, it's the same problem I've had with all of these books, is that everything is just in obnoxious excess to the point where it doesn't feel real, and I'm torn out of the book thinking that this is so stupid. And it's down to, like I already mentioned, something as simple as like the bounty on her head being a ridiculous amount of money. It doesn't make any sense. Everything was just in excess at every step of the way, and the culling made no sense to me. And I don't know if this is like a classic book too, is this scenario. I think it's called Hunter or something. I don't know. It's like a classic book. I remember reading this in like middle school, where there's this exact scenario where there are these rich people who pay to like hunt down real human beings and they have to run and hide. It was literally a rehashing of that. And so that's all I was thinking during this. Also wondering, but you're paying these girls because you want them, but the point is to not hit them, but also
kill them.
But if you do hit them, then you get them for that night. Like, it made no sense to me.
Also, like, if they lose, they die. So, like, even if they didn't get injured during the culling, but they, like, somehow didn't win, they didn't get to that circle or whatever, they die. They could be perfectly, like, not even injured, not even hurt. It's like, okay, well, maybe they are only, if, like, somebody got injured, they'll kill them. But, like, no, there's girls who weren't even injured. And they killed them. They tortured them. They had the other girls kill them. It's like, what the fuck? Like, dude, wouldn't you get more money if you were, like, I'm not a sex trafficker. I don't want to be. But, like, that makes no sense. Wouldn't you, if you're in the business of selling skin, wouldn't you not want to kill them? And if you are going to kill them and torture them, wouldn't you have somebody pay a certain price to do that? Why are you...
Yes.
What?
Yes. None of it makes any sense. None of this makes a lick of sense.
No, I didn't. I absolutely hated it. I couldn't.
Yeah, I don't. And that's not, the story just does not stand on its own two legs. Once you remove the fawning over Zayd and Addie's relationship and that, there's nothing here. It's just... falls flat. Falls flat across the board. Even the deaths. I was happy for her to get her revenge, and I'm all for a badass bitch coming and killing people, but every one of them was just like drawn out. It was so stupid. Didn't like it at all. So yeah, those were our hated parts, which we could just go on and literally on as we start remembering shit. We could just keep ranting, but we won't. You get the point. We don't like it. We're not fans. So my sincerest apologies to Kristen that I dragged you through this, but I'm also happy because now we're here. We said our piece. We read it. And now we know.
I was like, please, Crystal, don't make me read this. Please, do we have to read this? And then she was like, well, it's had so many good reviews, and we should do it. It's a very popular book. I'm like, I get it. I understand why we should do it for the show, but, like, do I have to read it?
344,000 is wild.
Yeah,
I was thoroughly convinced that you guys had found a really good book, and
I was not.
Well, not you guys. Maybe you guys. I don't know. Some people out there convinced me this was a good book, and so I read it. I dragged Kristen down to the depths of hell with me, and it was awful.
To be fair, though, I was about to read this book with you wholeheartedly. I thought it was going to be one of those Shadow Daddy books, like I said before in another episode. I was wholeheartedly, until I had my friend read it, and now she told me about it. I was like, yeah, I don't want to read this. After that, I was like really not wanting to read this. I was just rooting so hard for Crystal to be like, no, you're right, we should read it. But yeah, it's okay. We're here. I made it out alive, even though I feel like there was times I wanted to like rip my eyes out reading it.
Was this your most hated of the year so far? Considering our other ones, so Tomorrow, Uprooted.
You know, the third book, yes. The third book was my most, and then Satan's Affair. Like, to be honest, though, Satan's Affair was probably my most hated, and then the third book was my most hated after that. But like when I read the third book, Satan's Affair wasn't so bad anymore.
Yeah.
Only because Sibby became funny to me.
Yes.
So I don't know, Satan's Affair and the third book, are like tied together for that most hated.
Mm-hmm.
The second book was, I hated it, but it wasn't like the worst book. I would say Uprooted and Tomorrow was worse than the second book.
Yeah, I would agree.
Was that this year? I think that was this year we read.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I would say it is.
Yeah. I think Tomorrow is still my most hated because that book was just fucking boring. Yeah. And while this one was boring, it at least had elements of things that I like. That one, I swear to God, had nothing. And if you're interested in our review on that, it is up on our channel.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't know how I got away with it. But the next, 3 or 4 books are also my choice. So I'm going on a redemption spree for the next 2. I am confident Kristen's going to love them. We're jumping back into Hermione. And we are reading, the next one will be Breath Mints and Battle Scars, which, whew.
Yeah, we kind of both already read it.
Yeah, it's good. Well, I've already read it, but I'm not reading it again for the 3rd time for this. But I am confident I've redeemed myself, at least a little bit. But I hope you guys can join us for the next episode. But yeah, that's it for this review of Hunting of Adeline.
Yes, don't forget to like and subscribe and follow along with us so you can see what we're doing all the time.
So we'll see you next week. And also, we would love to hear your reviews down below. Do you agree with us? Do you hate us now? You're like, these bitches don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah, there's a whole discussion on people who hate or love it. There's practically no in between. So obviously, if you love it, tell us why you love it. And, we don't have to agree, but we would love to hear your thoughts on the book.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you next week for Breath Mints and Battle Scars. And yeah, have a good one.
Bye.